Bears, the Texans, the Colts, and the Falcons are the 4 worst teams in the NFL, and today they will be competing against each other to see who can rebuild the fastest and ultimately win a Super Bowl. There are a total of 7 Super Bowl goals that each team can accomplish, moving them closer to a Super Bowl, and once a team completes one of these goals, they will be able to spin an upgrade wheel to help speed up the rebuild process. One of the most popular ways to start rebuilding a franchise is through the NFL draft, and the Houston Texans are on the clock at number 2, where Bryce Young is taken off the board by Carolina with the first overall pick. Houston fans, you can be relieved that they have taken a quarterback with their top pick in CJ Stroud out of Ohio State. With the 4th pick in the draft, the Colts also select a quarterback, taking Will Levi out of Kentucky. The Atlanta Falcons opt out of picking a quarterback and draft quarterback Keely Ringo to boost their secondary. After moving down to number 9, the Chicago Bears give Justin Fields some help on the O-line, drafting Paris Johnson Jr. And with their second first-round pick in this draft, the Texans decide to draft Christian Gonzalez. All 4 teams completed the draft, adding some real good prospects going into 2023. And before checking out their rosters, let's give each team an upgrade from the wheel. The Bears get a good one, giving their lowest overall starter plus 10 to all stats, and that is going to be starting center Jared Patterson. And after boosting his stats, he is now a 90 overall. The rest of the Bears offense is looking pretty nice, with Justin Fields as the starting quarterback, and he has DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney as his primary target. The defense has Eddie Jackson and newly acquired Tremaine Edmonds to lead the way. The Texans are up next on the wheel spin, and they managed to secure plus 10 throwing stats, which is perfect for their new quarterback in CJ Stroud. As we upgrade all his throwing stats, he is now up to a 93 overall, but the rest of the offense is kind of lacking. He does have Dalton Schultz and Damian Pierce in the backfield, which helps, but unfortunately the defense has a lot of holes in it. But they did bring in Jimmy Ward this offseason, who is an 86 overall. The Falcons managed to get a plus 5 to all receiver stats on their upgrade wheel. Drake London is up to an 86 overall, Dennis Houston goes up to a 69, Tank Dell up to a 73, and Kyle Pitts is now a 95 overall. He'll be rocking with Desmond Ridder at quarterback this season, and he has some upgraded targets to throw to. The defense is actually not too bad, with AJ Terrell, Casey Hayward, and rookie Kelly Ringo leading the secondary. And for the second time, the upgrade wheel lands on a plus 10 throwing stats, and the Colts will be able to upgrade rookie quarterback Will Levi. He is up to a 90 overall with his upgraded stats, and he has a really solid supporting cast on offense with Michael Pittman Jr., Jonathan Taylor, and a good offensive line. The defense is definitely the best out of the 4 rebuilding teams, with Buckner, Stewart, and Kwity Paye leading the D-line. At the start of each season, the 4 rebuilding teams will have a challenge, and if they are able to complete that challenge throughout the season, they will get an extra upgrade. For the 2023 season, the Chicago Bears need to have one player on their team that has 10 touchdowns, but not including Justin Fields. The Texans need to somehow manage to finish top 10 in yards gained this season, while the Falcons land on finishing the season with a winning record, and the Colts will need Will Levi to have a pass rating of 95% or better. And after simming the entire 2023 season, all 4 teams fell short of making a playoff spot, which doesn't really surprise me. Luckily for the Bears, starting running back Khalil Herbert was able to rack up 12 touchdowns on the year, completing their season objective and securing an upgrade from the wheel. Will Levi of the Colts was barely able to complete his goal with a 95.7% passer rating, which secures them a wheel spin as well. Unfortunately for the Texans, they were unable to finish top 10 in total yards gained, but that was a huge ask for a rebuilding team in their first season. The Falcons had a great season, with Ridder throwing for 4,500 yards and Kyle Pitts scoring 10 touchdowns, but it wasn't enough to finish the season with a winning record, going 7-10. The Bengals defeated the Eagles in the Super Bowl, where Joe Burrow wins Super Bowl MVP, but no players on the Bears, Texans, Falcons, and Colts win a yearly award. And to my surprise, none of the 4 teams were big players in the free agency market this year, but Nick Bosa is now a member of the Jets, Lamar Jackson signs in Pittsburgh, and Derrick Henry is now a member of the Rams. The Bears had a solid draft this year, picking up a lot of defensive pieces to help their team, while the Colts used their 4th overall pick on linebacker Dallas Turner, who was an 80 overall, and edge rusher Curtis Fan at number 16. The Colts had a decent draft addressing their D-line with Corey Foreman out of USC, and the Falcons selected Jabari Ritzie, who was a 78 overall left end. Since the Bears and the Colts were able to complete their season objectives, they get an upgrade from the wheel, where the Bears land on a plus 5 stats to all O-line attributes, and with the snap of my finger, the entire offensive line is upgraded. Spinning wheel for the Colts, and they land on plus 2 overall to any offensive position, and Michael Pittman Jr. is going from an 88 to a 90 overall. Since no team was able to knock off any of the pre-Super Bowl goals, we can now move on to the wheel spin to see what their season goals will be. First up, we have the Bears, and they have to win more than half of their home game. And looking at their roster, Carson Wentz will be the starting quarterback for a few weeks while Justin Fields is hurt, but the O-line is absolutely stacked, and DJ Moore is still wide receiver number 1. The defense is looking very similar to last season, but with rookie Adelaide starting at right end. The Texans plan on getting 10 or more sacks with one player, and this challenge might be tough for their roster. CJ Stroud is now up to a 95, and the rest of the offense remains untouched for the most part. The defense is still a point of concern, but rookie Turner should really help that linebacking core, and Gonzalez is up to an 80 overall at corner. The Falcons' season goal is an easy one, with achieving a Player of the Week award at any point in the season. Desmond Ridder continues to lead the offense, but not much else has changed. The defense looks to be improved, with AJ Terrell up to a 92 and Jesse Bates at 95. The Colts are the last team up, and they have to rack up 4,500 passing yards on the season. Can Will Levi achieve this? He does have solid options, with Michael Pittman Jr. up to a 90, Alec Pierce at a 77, and Jonathan Taylor at a 94. Again, the defense is looking good, with rookie Foreman on the D-line with Buckner, Stewart, and Kwity Paye. After simming the entire 2024 season, the Texans finished with the best record of all 4 teams, going 8-9, while the Falcons, Bears, and Colts finished with a 7-10 record. Chicago ended up failing their season goal by only winning 2 home games and losing 6. The Houston Texans needed to have a player with over 10 sacks on the season, and rookie Dallas Turner had himself a season with 13.5 sacks. Earns them an upgrade from the wheel. Unfortunately for Will Levi, he had a rough season, only throwing for 3,800 yards, which means the Colts failed their season objective and do not get an upgrade. And Desmond Ridder was able to win Player of the Week award in Week 5 of the season, so they were able to complete their objective and earn themselves a upgrade. The Kansas City Chiefs win the Super Bowl, but Houston's rookie Dallas Turner wins Defensive Rookie of the Year, knocking off one of the pre-Super Bowl goals and moving one step closer to the ultimate goal. With that lackluster free agency from last season, this time the teams decided to spend big. The Bears managed to sign Nick Chubb for 4 years, DJ Chark to a 3-year contract, and they also brought in Shaquille Griffin, James Bradbury, and Nwosu. The Texans also made a huge splash, bringing back Brandon Cooks and DeAndre Hopkins, along with Trey Smith and Ojulari. The Colts also spent a little bit of money bringing in Disley, J.C. Horn, Paris Campbell, and Justin Simmons. The Falcons made some moves, bringing in Terrence Steele, Justin Reed, and Cam Akers. After those huge offseason acquisitions from those 4 teams, some of the pre-Super Bowl goals have been accomplished. Chicago brought in Nick Chubb, who's a 98 overall, and they also achieved an 86 or better offense, moving them closer to a Super Bowl and earning 2 extra upgrades. Their 2 wheel spin lands on +10 to all throwing stats, which is definitely going to help Justin Fields, and they also have one that they can trade for anyone under 88 overall, which is huge. Justin Fields went from a 78 overall all the way to a 90 after his upgrade, and they decided to upgrade their tight end position, trading for Brock Bowers from Arizona. The Texans have 3 upgrades since they had a player win an award, achieved an 86 or better offense, and completed their season goal of 10 or more sacks. Their 3 wheel spins land on +2 overall to their entire D-line, +2 overall to their running back, and a 99 awareness to 1 player. I went ahead and upgraded their D-line to +2 overall each, upgraded Dameon Pierce from an 88 to a 90 overall, and then gave CJ Stroud 99 awareness, putting him to a 99 overall. And since he's a 99 overall, they get another pre-Super Bowl goal completed, and the wheel lands on turning 2 70 to 79 overall players to an 83 overall. They decided to go ahead and turn Austin Thomas from a 72 to an 83, and Broderick Jones from a 74 to an 83. The Falcons are up next, and they have 2 wheel spins from completing their season goal of earning a Player of the Week award, and then having a 98 or better player on the roster in Kyle Pitts. The first wheel spin lands on lowest rated starter +10 to all stats, and the second one lands on +2 overall to the starting running back. With Desmond Ridder being the lowest overall starter on the team, he is getting a massive upgrade. After boosting all of his stats, he goes up to an 89 overall, and newly acquired Cam Akers goes from a 85 overall to an 87 overall. The Colts only get 1 wheel spin since they just completed achieving an 86 or better offense, and the wheel lands on a +2 to any defensive player. So why not upgrade rookie Corey Foreman from an 81 to an 83? Jumping into the 3rd season, none of the teams have made the playoffs yet, and I'm hoping that changes here. Chicago's season goal is to have a 30+ point game, which is extremely possible with their high-powered offense. Houston needs to go on a 3-game win streak at some point in the season. The Falcons need Desmond Ridder to get 25 or more touchdowns, and the Colts need to finish top 10 in points allowed. Chicago being led by Justin Fields, CJ Stroud leading the Texans with Hopkins. The Falcons will rely heavily on Kyle Pitts and the defense, while the Colts hope to see a big improvement from Will Levi and rely on the defense to keep the games close. And after simming the entire 2025 season, the Falcons finished 3rd in the entire NFL with a 14-3 record, knocking off multiple pre-Super Bowl goals and earning them an additional 3 upgrades from the wheel. The Texans, Bears, and Colts all finished below 500 and missed out on a playoff spot for the 3rd straight season. Atlanta was able to defeat the New York Giants in the wildcard game, but fell short to the Los Angeles Rams in the divisional round. The Rams went on to win the Super Bowl over the Steelers, and Otis Jordan of the Bears wins Defensive Rookie of the Year. By knocking off a pre-Super Bowl goal, the Bears were able to also complete their season goal of getting 30 or more points in the game, earning them 2 upgrades, while the Texans were able to go on a 3-game win streak, completing their season goal, but were not able to knock off any pre-Super Bowl goals. The Falcons had themselves a season, earning 4 pre-Super Bowl goals and completing their season goal of 25 touchdowns with a QB. The Colts failed to complete their season goal, but Jonathan Taylor is now up to a 98 overall, earning them 1 upgrade. Moving into free agency, the Bears bring in DK Metcalf to help Justin Fields. The Texans only brought in Tyler Lockett and Quay Walker since Hopkins retired. Kevin Byard was the only free agent signing from the Colts since they don't really have a lot of cap space left, and the Falcons made a few moves, bringing in Jacoby Myers to help Desmond Ridder. The Bears were able to find a really good cornerback with a 9th overall pick out of Oklahoma, while the Texans bring in another wide receiver with 95 speed. Unfortunately, the Colts and Falcons missed the mark with their pick. For Chicago, the wheel spin lands on any player becomes an X factor, and the second best receiver gets 95 catching. This is an easy choice for Chicago. They are going to make Justin Fields a superstar X factor, and they're going to be upgrading DJ Moore to 95 catching. The Texans' only wheel spin lands on any player to superstar potential, and they elected to give that to Stingley with the upgrade. The Falcons have a total of 5 upgrades, and the wheel lands on +5 to all D-line stats, +5 to all receiving stats, +5 to all O-line stats. Running back goes to +2 overall, and the second best corner gets 93 man and 93 zone coverage. I went ahead and upgraded the defensive line to +5 stats and the offensive line to +5 stats as well. I then upgraded every wide receiver to +5 stats as well, and upgraded Cam Akers from an 89 to a 91. Kelly Ringo gets his man and zone stats up to a 93 each, which makes him an 88 overall as cornerback number 2. The Colts' only wheel spin lands on +2 to any defensive player, and Corey Foreman is upgraded from an 87 to an 89 overall, really boosting that defense. Heading into season 4, the Bears' season goal is to win more than half of their home games. The Texans need to pass for 4,500 yards or more. The Falcons need their running back to have over 1,000 yards, and the Colts need to average 25 or more points per game. The Bears' offense is much improved with an elite offensive line and plenty of targets for Justin Fields. The defense is also quite solid with a few offseason acquisitions. The Texans are in great shape with CJ Stroud leading the offense, and a lot of their defensive draft picks really started to progress nicely. And after all those upgrades to the Falcons, they have a really good offense with Ridder leading the way, and the Falcons secondary might actually be one of the best in the NFL. The Colts are really hoping Will Levi can have a big season, especially with Michael Pittman up to a 91, and after upgrading Foreman, the Colts defense should be a top 10 this season with how stacked they are. After simming the entire 2026 season, the Falcons, the Colts, and the Texans make the playoffs. CJ Stroud and the Texans finish with a 13-4 record, which knocks off 3 preseason goals. The Falcons also finished with a 13-4 record, but the Colts barely snuck into the playoffs with a 9-8 record, but they did finish above 500, earning themselves a pre-Super Bowl goal. Somehow, the Bears missed the playoffs. The Falcons ended up defeating the Bucs in the wildcard game, but unfortunately, the Colts fell short to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Both the Texans and Falcons were able to win their divisional matchup, but now the Texans take on the Chiefs and the Falcons take on the Commanders. And after simming both games, the Houston Texans were able to defeat the Kansas City Chiefs 31-24, but unfortunately Washington was able to easily defeat the Falcons by a score of 35-21. And now we have a Super Bowl matchup between CJ Stroud and the Texans going up against the Commanders. On 3rd and 24, the Texans defense came up huge, forcing a fumble, which led to a touchdown pass to Dalton Schultz to give the Texans the early lead, and CJ Stroud continued his dominance, finding Dalton Schultz in the end zone for 7, but Washington starts fighting back with 3 straight field goals and are now only down 7 with 4 minutes to go. Luckily for Houston fans, CJ Stroud was able to work down the field and make it a 2-possession game with under 2 minutes to go, and that was good enough for them to lift the Lombardi Trophy and be the first team to rebuild in this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you check out this one. I'm sure you'll really enjoy it.